Morning everybody, welcome to Talk Tuesday, and apologies for those of you who were waiting for the post yesterday to tell you what time I'd be going for live. I was a little bit late in posting that, but anyway, here I am, and I am going to talk today about intuition. And as any of you who follow my videos regularly will know, the topics that I talk about are usually based on my intuition, because I just wait for topics, usually anyway, to pop into my head as the topic that I should be talking about on any particular day. And there can be many reasons for that. It can be because it's something that I need to be reminded of, but I think that usually it's because it's a topic that's going to be of use to the people who are going to watch and listen to it. So today is about intuition. Now, we all have that intuition. We might call it different things. We might call it instinct or a gut feeling or an inner knowing, but that's what it is. It is that sense of knowing inside ourselves that something is either right or wrong. And although we all have it, often we let our logical minds talk us out of it. I'm sure you have plenty of examples of that in your own lives, but you will also have examples of where you have listened to your intuition, and perhaps even without knowing that that's what it is. So, for example, if you meet somebody for the first time and you really just click with them and you know that that's going to be somebody that you want to spend more time with, and the converse is obviously true as well, that you instantly know that somebody really isn't for you when you first meet them. That comes from our internal intuition. And it's the same with house hunting. Most of us have had that experience, because when you're looking for new houses, I can't remember the statistics, but it's within a few seconds, I believe, of going in a house, you know whether it's one for you, or often that it isn't one for you. And that again is just down to that instinctive inner knowing, in other words, your intuition. And the reason that intuition works is because it comes from inside of you, because your inner self knows you the best of all. It knows what's good for you. It knows what's right for you. So it is really something to get to know and to make friends with and spend time listening to. As I said at the start, often we can let our logical minds talk us out of it. But if we get into the habit of listening to our intuition, noticing when it's there and trusting it, we will find that it will usually go well for us. Another example I can give you is, if you are trying to make a decision, sometimes you can do it the logical way and maybe draw up a list of pros and cons. And again, you've probably had experience of that. You go through the pros, you go through the cons, and you look at the list, and actually your gut is telling you something different. So, for example, the pros might be a longer list than the cons, but whatever it is, you go with the con decision, if you see what I mean, or vice versa, because having looked through all of those advantages and disadvantages, your inner knowing is telling you, actually, no, just go this way, which may not fit with your list. And that, again, is listening to your intuition. So just to give you a real life example, just to show you what it did for me. And apologies again, those of you who know me well will have heard this story before, but I know there are people who won't have come across it before. So for over 25 years, I was a solicitor. By the time I got to the end of my career in law, I was really super stressed. In fact, I was super stressed for quite a lot of it. But for the point of this story, at this stage, I was really super stressed. I had lots of physical symptoms of stress. I had terrible tension headaches. I had a really bad back that I had to see a chiropractor for regularly. I was grinding my teeth, and I'd got my chiropractor telling me I needed to leave the job. I'd got my dentist telling me I needed to leave the job, because they knew from what I was telling them that it was the stress of the job that was causing the physical symptoms. But I just ignored that for quite a long time. And I did that out of logical reasoning. And my logical reasoning was that the job paid me well, which it certainly did. And I just didn't know how I was going to survive financially if I didn't have that pay from that job. And actually, now I look back, that was a flawed decision on a logical basis, because I could have looked for other well-paid jobs, but that's beside the point. The point of what I want to say to you now is that my intuition was telling me constantly, this job is bad for you, it's bad for your health, you need to get out of it, it might have been great at one time, but it's no longer serving you. But I was squashing my intuition because of what my logical brain was telling me. But as is often the case, when your intuition wants you to listen, it was just getting louder and louder. And so my physical symptoms were getting worse and worse, as well as the feeling inside getting louder and louder that I really needed to leave this job. And then one day, I don't know exactly what it was that caused it, although I do have a good idea, which is something for another video because it will go on too long. But I was on my usual train commute into the middle of Birmingham where my job was, and I think I was reading a book at the time, but all of a sudden I just had this thing click in my mind that I had to get out of the job. And instead of my usual, oh yes, but then I won't be able to afford this and I'll have to move house and da, I just thought, yeah, I've got to get out of it. I really have got to go. And so I just went through my day as normal, getting on with the jobs, didn't really have time to think about anything else because, as usual, I was super busy. But then on the train going home, again, I went back to the feeling that I'd had in that morning journey and just knew that it was right, because it was coming from my intuition that I really, really had to leave. So I went home, told my partner I was leaving. He didn't seem all that surprised. And that set in motion a whole chain of events which were fantastic. And again, I can talk about that another time, but in a nutshell, because I didn't know how I was going to survive financially and I thought I'd have to move house to an area I didn't want to live in, he said, why don't you move in with me, which I hadn't really seen coming, but that was great. So I did. I put my house on the market, sold it very quickly, and I think I went in and handed my notice at work. 3 months later, I was out of that job and I was close to completing on my house sale, moved in with my partner, who's now my husband. So much came from that decision, which was to follow my intuition, which is why I'm telling you about it. I could have gone with it much earlier. It may not have had the same events, and because I do believe that things happen in the right time, but I absolutely trusted my intuition on that particular day because I really, really needed to. So if you are struggling with whether you can even hear your intuition, what I suggest is practicing moments of stillness. If you're somebody who meditates, then you will have stillness anyway. If you don't meditate and you don't really want to start it, you can try just sitting for 5 or 10 minutes each day in peace and quiet, with no distractions, so no TV, no music, no people around you. Just find somewhere quiet where you can just sit still. And you don't even have to sit and think, what is my intuition telling me? Just sit in peace and quiet and keep doing that. And the more that you do that, hopefully every day, the more that your intuition will make itself known. And then a final point, which I think I told you about recently in another video actually about decision making, is that if you're wondering whether to trust your intuition in a particular situation, particularly if it might be a big decision like mine was, whether to leave the job or whether to stay in it, then again, find yourself somewhere peaceful to sit, and then just ask yourself that question, should I leave this job? And then see how it feels in your body, and you will know straight away. Because if you feel excited about leaving that job, then that's your intuition saying yes. But if you feel a bit kind of contracted and a bit sort of, oh, I'm really not sure about this, then it probably isn't the right time to leave that job. So try that. Try that with, maybe try it with a small decision first, just so that you get used to how your body feels with the kind of yes or no answer. But working with your intuition is really, really important. As I said earlier, your inner self knows you best. So I truly believe that it's worth listening to. So I hope you found it helpful. As always, very happy to talk to any of you who want any more information from me. You know where I am, you know where to get in touch. And if you don't, you can go to my website, which is jackiewilliamson.com, or you can hop onto the Facebook page New Dawn, or contact me by direct message here in the group. So thanks as always for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll be back here again with you next week. Bye for now.